We return with another video, just talking all things RSC, or as Crum once affectionately referred to it as, the Carpal Tunnel Simulator. 10 things only old RuneScape players would remember, Volume 47. I miss that series. Shout out Crum. For anyone new here, I cover RSCVanilla mostly, but also I cover a wide array of topics, so I've started putting the timestamps somewhere convenient so that you can skip around to your heart's content. I talk about everything from vanilla news, events, updates, give players shoutouts, sometimes even do interviews with the player base. And I also talk about whatever else is on my mind at the time, so thank you for watching. I have no idea how you found out about both RSCVanilla and then you found this channel on YouTube's algorithm, but you're here somehow. You made it past the onslaught of, what do we have? Ukrainian girls doing yoga and the mountain of tech review channel shills that YouTube has to offer. It's breathtaking, so thank you for being here. Diving right in. I'm very glad to report that the same names keep logging in. It's almost like an episode of Cheers on Vanilla. You want to go where everybody knows your name. And surely they do. And your alt's name. And your usual playing patterns and spots. And, yeah. I'd say life is pretty good right now. But do heed my warning. Do heed my words. Brace for the fall and winter tourist season when the player numbers really pick up. And if this year is anything like last year, that means new faces, questionable characters crawling out of the woodwork. Prepare your TISM meter for an absolute red line, and get ready to copy and paste that Jarfix link in a Discord until it's finally pinned in the support section once and for all. But I guess the plus side of a more active server is that we'll have those look what the cat dragged in moments, you know. Some returning players, which it's always nice to see. There's also a huge, and I mean a huge, question mark as far as future events. From past experience, I can confidently say that I don't expect holiday drops like rares and stuff like that. So I would be as shocked as anyone if they did. But I will say keep hope alive for the possible event to go down, hosted by the players. Like, for instance, another drop party maybe coming down the pipe. Who knows? Maybe we can summon the powers of Deadblaze once more. That drop party in April was pretty kick-ass. And I've been saving up some rune drops for the next one. I would say either way, it should be interesting this fall and winter on Vanilla for sure. Something to look forward to is always nice. That's what my alcoholic Aunt Tammy always used to say. Rest in peace. I will say that I've spotted a few of the newer players that are slowly but surely becoming regulars. So a quick shout out to the newcomers, Mr. H, Mystery Box, Hero Dabes, Giant Rat, Damien, and Tiger X. These names. Tiger X just burned through the game at like breakneck speed, dude. We were all kind of watching that go down in shock. But they claim to have completed all the quests in 3 days, and Legends. Jeez. So shout out Tiger for completing all those quests. It's got to be a record time or something. And you know, I heard Beast Fable is also going for Legends too, which is cool to see. I've been popping in on those wilderness-only hardcore Iron Man streams. The Lost Rogue. What a commendable build that is. And at the same time, a downright torture to watch those absolute shit fire giant drops. But I gotta say, I'm a fan of that series. And yes, I myself wonder about those drop rates and the RNG practically all the time. But it's hard to watch when you're watching a player who absolutely needs a drop and can't get it. But yeah, but back to the players. We also have some pretty big milestones from the veterans to shout out. So number one, Mr. Green, who hit 96 agility on that live stream. By the way, I wonder if he even knows. So shout out Mr. Green, one of our fearless leaders. Man, what else happened lately that was big and notable? Shit, I can't really think of anything. But if anyone noticed, drop a comment. Oh, man, I'm at a loss here. Really don't remember anything worthy of note. Nah, I'm just kidding. Lone Lamer hit 1,600.
Oh, my God!
Congratulations, buddy. That is huge. Dude has been on a tear this whole year. I'll take a page out of Crumb's book here, and I'll list the top things only vanilla players would know. Volume 1. Fun fact: at some point last year, Lone Lamer actually cut so many magic logs that he broke the damn magic tree. And I don't know if the mods didn't believe him or what, but that magic tree sat as a stump for weeks. I don't know exactly how long, but it felt like a long time. And that's some vanilla lore for you. But seriously, 1,600 is huge, man. He is now gone where no vanilla player has gone before, you know? And I doubt many, if any, at all ever get to. A lot of people say that they're going to max their account, but, I only believe what I see. I look at the numbers, and I see one person above 1,600 right now in 4 whole years of vanilla being a server. So do the math. It just doesn't happen very often at 1x, and that it takes thousands and thousands of hours to achieve. So one more time, shout out Lone Lamer, 1,600. And speaking of which, the 4-year anniversary came and went on September 11th and 12th. At least we have one good thing to remember about that particular date in history. And we have Cruze to thank, who tried to organize a meeting at the Jolly Boar Inn and was actually thinking about the anniversary. And if you weren't aware, Cruze has a YouTube channel that inspired me to start doing this, and as well as a Twitter that I just found out about called RSCVanilla FTW, as in for the win. And it looks to be solely used for RSCVanilla related media. So go follow it if you're on there. Early September is that's a relatively slow time on the server, and organizing a player event or any kind of meeting that time of year is just tough, man. Even in the winter, and at the most active times, it's tough to do that unless it involves free shit, and a drop party or a tournament. So I commend him for trying. And again, shout out Cruze and shout out Vanilla for hitting the big 4-year mark. What the fuck, man? Good for you. Fate, Kevin, everyone. The thumbnail of this video was something I wanted to cover, and that was something that I made about 2-3 weeks ago, and we should probably talk about it. You see, I know in advance roughly what topics I'm going to cover on here, and I just proceed to make a vague sort of, amalgamation of things resembling, I don't know what you'd call this other than a, mental illness. But it really just encapsulates what I figure the show will consist of. So typically when I have the time, I'll just open up good old GIMP and I'll just, let the creativity fly and just sort of ballpark it. But I think in some ways I manifested something from all that. Let's break this picture down, shall we? So on the right, we have the Mage Arena spell Charge. In the middle, we have the Steam Deck, which I plan to talk a little bit about. And on the left, in all his glory, we have Gimli, son of Gloin, from the Lord of the Rings, wearing what else but a dragon medium helmet. And wouldn't you know it, a DMED dropped on Black Demons about a week after making that thumbnail. Yeah, and the topic of a dragon medium dropping came up with more than one player over the course of the last 2 weeks, and for it to happen at that particular time was just sort of nuts, man. I mean, that thing dropped and I about keeled over from a stage 5 heart attack. That is a 1 in 16,000 drop, and the odds of that thing dropping when it did is just insane, according to my kill count at the time. I was under 30 black demons killed overall when it dropped. I mean, God, I know that may come as a shock to like some of you, but the first year of my game playing has been mainly skillscape. It's no secret that I enjoy skilling, and I find it, peaceful and rewarding and everything, but very, very little has been put into combat training or high, level NPC killing in my first year. So imagine my excitement. And make no mistake, that DMED will get put to use, and it was something I had planned on buying outright at some point, thinking it would never drop. So now all that's left is like a rune two-hander and a dragon square to complete this holy trinity of rare drop table, heart attack inducing moments on Classic. I mean, it's really exciting when it does happen. And like I said, that helmet's going to go to my alt, Chub Chub, who is a tank mage. And I had planned on covering a whole section on him, and it would just make this video so damn long, I may have to make my own tank mage video, and then talk about all that and everything that entails. But yeah, I'm going to do a future video on that instead of including it all on here. But I did do Mage Arena on my main, so I did not film it. I just wanted to see what it was like, and I will say, man, Collodion smacks you around like a little bitch, man. I was caught off guard, and I sort of compare it to the battle with Aban in Underground Pass. It's almost like you're just confused at first from where it's coming from, and like, what is this? But unlike Aban, there are way too many fucking NPCs in the general area, and Gower, what were you smoking? It makes it hard to cast on him, because there's so many people around you. I don't know, you just gotta focus on your health bar, and I was 75 defense and getting hit pretty big on, so when I do record that on Chub Chub, I'll be 60 defense, and it should make for a better video anyway. So I'll probably just make a whole video dedicated to that character and building one, because there's so few guides out there. And another goal I hit recently was 1400 overall skill total, which it's been a mission for some time now. The 1400s, man, they look like the final frontier. And if 1400 feels this way, I guess 1500 feels like Custer's Last Stand or the Alamo or something, man. I guess there's only 2 players who've gotten that far that would know what that feels like. But for sure, 1400 makes you feel, you reevaluate some things and sort of understand what's left for you in the game. You have the road to like 80 crafting, the Dragonstone Amulet, 70 prayer maybe, 78 herb law, 80 agility, probably for the hell of it, who knows. I doubt I go for 80 smithing, maybe 74, so I can make Addy arrowheads. I'd love to get 99 in thieving, but it's just going to take forever. But the main thing that kept me around all this time is the ability to bounce back and forth between all of the skills and avoid burnout at all costs. So I would recommend, if you're newer, go that route. And maybe possibly in the later half here, I'll play a little bit more on mobile. I've been AFK training on dead ones a little bit more, so it kind of lends itself well to mobile, which had me thinking lately. The Steam Deck. Gabe Newell's answer to mobile gaming. Now, I've played a little bit of vanilla on mobile with the Android APK. It's okay, but it's not the greatest. And for mobile play, the input method is so crucial. Like, if you aren't relying solely on a touchscreen, it has to be very precise. So on the deck, I guess you'd be using the analog controller in mouse mode, possibly those left and right trackpads, man. I don't know about it. It could work, but it might be clunky as hell. It could also be the greatest thing since sliced bread. There would only be one way of knowing, and that's if I attempted it myself. And also, apart from that, there's reasons why I don't already own one. For sure, the first reason is that it uses Linux. I've used all sorts of Linux before, and I can tell you for a fact that Linux is not great for gaming. Okay, the difference between a Steam Deck and a phone is I guess you could run more than one client, and you would have an entire desktop experience. And I guess, I've had handheld consoles in the past. Nothing that ran Android other than a phone, though. And then you have stuff like the AYN Odin, which kind of took over the internet and shit. You have all these retro emulators, too. There are just thousands of those. I actually own one, and it's not bad, but I gotta say, the more I think about a Steam Deck, the less I want one. And that I'd rather play on a computer, an actual desktop computer, and not a handheld. It's just kind of my personal preference. Though the Steam Deck has a huge selling point, and that's, okay, I've had a Steam library going since 2003. When I first bought Counter-Strike at Best Buy, or Circuit City, or something really old school, and I had an actual CD key with it, and I have the big box version of Counter-Strike and Half-Life, or something like that. It was all included. But I've been building a Steam library for the last almost 20 years. So it's just, it would open up that whole door. But to anyone wondering, I know for a fact, because I've used Linux a lot in the past, RuneLite works on Linux, works very well. RSCVanilla works possibly even better on Linux than it does on Windows. If you're tech savvy enough, throw Garuda Linux Gaming Edition in a virtual machine and test it out. There's something to do with Wayland as opposed to Xorg. These are their ways of managing the graphical environment, and it makes it look like it's running in 120 hertz. Do you remember the first time that you saw a kick-ass brand new phone, and it was so smooth and buttery when it was scrolling? That's what that reminded me of, and I had to leave it because of work. I couldn't do what I needed to do. Everything audio related in Linux is kind of fucked up, and gaming relies on many different layers too. There's Proton, Lutris, bottles, good old-fashioned wine. If you're a Mac user, you might know what wine is. But God, there's many different reasons why I don't own the deck. But I'm very curious if there's anyone out there playing vanilla or RuneLite, really anything on a deck. Leave a comment. I'm really curious about this. And it sort of pushed all these Chinese manufacturers into making more handheld computers. Like I said, AYN, Ioneo. There's just so much more handheld computers coming down the pipeline that it just sort of expands on a good old-fashioned Android phone or Android tablet. It may even negate the need to have, I guess I wouldn't say negate the need to have an Android app per se, but it will absolutely enter that arena and shred it to pieces. with all the shit you can do on a handheld computer as opposed to a phone. So yeah, that was, but if you're mainly playing vanilla on mobile, or if you two are considering, a Steam Deck, drop a comment. I will say that I take those day one reviews with a grain of salt, and as many updates as they've had since then. The maxed out system is around at $600 or something. So yeah, that's a little pricey, but it's a fully functional computer. It certainly doesn't cost $1 billion to make, like our next topic. Drumroll. Amazon, our supreme tax-exempt overlords, have burst onto the scene, spending over $1 billion on The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. And how am I not going to talk about this? I was such a fan about, the first three movies, the books, just everything. My whole early life, childhood, was all Lord of the Rings. Now I've watched the first 5 episodes so far, and without giving any spoilers away, because I absolutely hate it when people do that. I'll just say this. It's pretty bad, man. Yeah, it's maybe not as bad as some people are saying, but still pretty bad. You have to understand that a lot of content creators here on YouTube, here on good old Uncle YouTube, they do those those like knee-jerk reaction videos. They're just playing off your emotions by saying things. Like, oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. 0 out of 10. Look, I'm not in that camp per se, but I will say this. The storyline moves at just an absolutely glacial pace so far. And they've committed to 5 seasons of this show. So that's important. Let's not forget that. But just glacial. So slow. The first 4 hours of the show felt like 6 or 8 to me. The whole thing is just a reimagining of the notes that Tolkien wrote, because, that is what Amazon bought, and that's it. If you're a fan, you'll quickly realize it's not Tolkien at all, and it's surely not on par with Peter Jackson's trilogy as far as, like, the writing, character development, the scope and the reality of the scenery. Jesus Christ, they went to New Zealand and grew the Shire for over 2 years, This is all CG. It's sort of like the Hobbit trilogy, and a bit darker and macabre in the way that it looks, which is, mostly all CG. In the first and second episode, I thought were pretty good. And then from there, it just went downhill, man. You know what? It reminded me of the Disney movie. If you've ever had the pleasure of watching this steaming pile, John Carter. If you've ever seen that, that's what it reminded me of. Just high in that it's high budget, lots of potential, but everything's CG'd out the ass. The costumes are just ridiculous. Except for in the Rings of Power, we have this mute and confused, Gandalf, who isn't Gandalf. I don't know. They can't use his real name because it's not in the licensing. And he wears a bathrobe, something that looks like that. And, the whole thing just sort of falls flat. So there were many moments where things could have went differently, or went a little deeper into the lore. And it's just, someone needs to tell the writers, they can allude to something without saying it 10 times. I mean, we have an IQ of over 30, and we we get it. But yeah, that's a big part of the show that I noticed. They just sort of telegraph every single move. And yes, there are parts that obviously don't belong. These odd pieces of the series exist, solely because of modernity. Yay. The writers must include, nay, they must imbue all modern TV and movies with it nowadays. So sure, I cringed at more than a few things, and I almost liken parts of the script and casting to their Twitter bios, that they clearly state how woke they are. sort of like a little nameplate or insignia. It identifies them. And, of course, the whole 90-pound woman in charge slaying cave trolls like a boss and leading armies. That's "I am woman, hear me roar" is a main through line. And there were just unbelievable fight scenes that defy physics and reality in every way. But yeah, I watched it. I don't think it's as bad as some, but it's still pretty horrible. I will watch a few more if I can stomach it. And then I will go watch The House of the Dragon, because I hear that that's doing so much better than this show. And then at least I'll have something to look forward to. But the reason that I cover stuff like this, and that I'm here before you today, playing a 20-plus-year-old game like RSC, and I'm here talking about it. It could have been many games. There's still a lot of good options out there, new and old. But I settled on RSC because, woke companies just have their way of getting their grubby little mitts onto everything and twisting it. Putting out remakes that are quote-unquote safer. Look where Tomb Raider went. Look where the character models for Diablo 2 went. Look how they took scenes out of, like, Mass Effect, was it? Or was it BioShock? I can't remember. But for me, lately, the past is the future, and I've been quite content lately with replaying old games. Even thought about rebuilding my Sega Genesis collection. I regret selling that years ago, and also, I'm rewatching old movies and TV before the shift really took place, which I think was around like 2008, 2009. Everything sort of took on this same shit message. And honestly, even Amazon can only afford to shovel billions of dollars into a dud for so long before the jig is up. So, what I'm saying is, I appreciate an honest work of art, not conflated or exaggerated, just an honest piece of work. It stands the test of time. There's something to that. It's earned its place in the world by way of merit. That, and that is how something becomes known as good or worthwhile or worth striving for. Something that you can connect with, and it becomes a part of your life in a way. It's crazy. I still remember going to the theater to see The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, and coming home to play some RSC and getting my Santa hat. So both of those things existing in the moment, fleeting though they may have been, stuck in my brain. And maybe that's why I feel the need to talk about that show on here. I really don't know. People remember the past and often try to recreate it, almost to a fault. Almost like the Dane Cook bit, where he no longer believes in God, but strives to constantly fill his God hole deep down with other things. And let me tell you something. There is a hole in every one of you. I can feel it. It's big. It's pink. And you can't quit trying to fill your hole with the dick of the past. Don't be like Dane Cook, though. Everything in moderation. He's had so much plastic surgery trying to relive his past that he's starting to look like Kenny Rogers or something. But as far as good jokes, I prefer the Dave Attell bit more. He comes out on stage. He opens the show with this, I think. It was like a Comedy Central, one of those like really early specials. And he opens the show. He says, "Ladies need to quit shaving because I need a good bush." Okay, and the crowd is immediately taken off guard. I remember the lady in the front row already dead. Her hands in the air. He stops. He circles the mic stand, looks down at the ground, and he gathers himself. And then he turns back to the crowd. He looks them dead in the eyes, and he says, "I need a cross between Wizard and ISIS." The crowd roars with applause, and that joke fills my godhole more, because you know what? It's honest, and I immediately think of Gandalf's beard. And on that note, I hope everybody had a fun day today. I know I did. We'll see you out there enjoying a game you love and reliving a little bit of the past. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you again real soon. Peace.